A French revolution has been happening at Citroën for the past few years. For a long time Citroën's well-known eccentric take on styling had been shunned for conformity, but it all changed with the C4 Cactus. This was a funky-looking quasi-SUV with an interesting interior and matte air-filled plastic squares on the doors, known as air bumps. In one fell swoop the C4 Cactus showed exactly where Citroën was going and exposed the regular C4 hatchback as dreadfully dull. However, the C4 Cactus has been on sale for nearly 4 years now, so Citroën has decided it's high time to give it up an update, but as updates go, this is quite a big one. Unusually for a midlife facelift, it's not a case of fancy new wheels and different trim colors, but the new Cactus is another sign of Citroën returning to its brand values and trying to make its cars stand out. With cars like the Traction Avant, 2CV and DS, Citroën rubber-stamped the idea it was a builder of comfortable cars. But over the years Citroën moved away from this USP. The new Cactus, Citroën says, is a return to those days. As it's a midlife update and not a brand new model, it still uses the relatively elderly Peugeot 208/DS3 platform, but there's a new type of suspension. It's not as revolutionary as the original Citroën DS's hydropneumatic system of 1955, but it's still quite radical compared with the cars the Cactus rivals. It's called Progressive Hydraulic Cushion, PHC, suspension, and it adds a pair of hydraulic dampers into each suspension corner. In so doing, it replaces the rubber bump stops used on most cars of this type, including the outgoing C4 Cactus. Put simply, because the dampers cushion the wheel travel at the top and at the bottom of the coil suspension unit, Citroën has been able to fit softer springs and dampers. In so doing, a magic carpet ride feeling has been achieved, says the firm. It's a bold claim, but it seems on smooth French roads at least that Citroën is telling the truth. The suspension does its best work on undulating roads. The wheels stick to the road while the body is well suspended. It's like it floats from crest to crest. With such a soft setup you would presume there would be quite a bit of bounce between compressions, but again, the Cactus impresses and it seems to float along well. Even hard cornering fails to disrupt the car's composure. Sure, there's quite a bit of body roll, but it's nicely composed and unflustered. Our test car was a range-topping flare with a 1.2-liter 128 bhp 3-cylinder petrol engine. It's a new engine for the Cactus, but it has been used in a variety of Peugeots, Citroëns, and DS models for some time, and just like in those cars, it's a good engine. It delivers a good amount of poke low down in the rev range, and it feels as fast as the 8.2 seconds 0 to 62 miles per hour sprint time. There's that distinctive 3-cylinder thrum under hard acceleration, but it's never coarse and settles down to a barely audible level when cruising. The 6-speed gearbox is far more pleasurable to use with this engine compared with other Cactus models. The gear knob feels more substantial than before, and the shift action is better too, thanks to a shorter throw. Factor in well-weighted and accurate steering, and the Cactus feels slightly more fun and a whole lot more refined than before. We suspect the PureTech 110 will be the pick of the range in the UK, though for diesel buyers there's only one choice: a 1.6-liter Blue with a 5-speed manual gearbox. As before, there's no 4-wheel drive, just Peugeot Citroën's grip control, which alters the traction control system depending on terrain. Until May, Citroën is offering the new Cactus with an 81 bhp 1.2-liter petrol in a special Feel Edition trim for £17,265, but it's best avoided. Not only is the engine bereft of a turbo and consequently rather breathless, it also does without the PHC suspension that is standard across the rest of the range. From May onwards, the PureTech 110 in Feel trim will be the entry point, at a whisker under £18,000. It's not just the suspension that Citroën has played around with, but also the seats. In a small throwback to the original DS, the seats have been designed to be big squashy sofas and make for a welcome relief from the small SUV class norm. Elsewhere, the interior is identical to the old C4 Cactuses, so there's a smattering of soft touch plastics but rather too many scratchy surfaces in too many places. The design remains pleasingly different, and the vast majority of functions are controlled via the standard fit 7-inch infotainment system. That also means the major controls like the climate control aren't easily reached and are accessed via menus rather physical knobs and buttons, which is more difficult to use than it really should be. Interior space remains the same, naturally, with adequate space in the back and a class average boot, 358 liters with the seats in place and 1,170 liters with them folded, but it's a shame to see the pop-out rear windows of the old Cactus have been carried over to the new one.